Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. So today we're going to do another review of a motherboard. It's the MSI B550M Pro VDH with Wi-Fi. So going to get it out of the box, have a quick look at it, and we'll go over some of the features. And that's pretty much going to be it. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, so let's have a first look at it. So I'm going to get out of the box here. Here's our motherboard. Have to carefully get that out. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so we have a couple SATA cables, our antenna, because we do have Wi-Fi, so that's what we're going to need that for. Our I/O shield, our little screws for our, if we have M.2 drives, which we will be using. It's got a little badge, always nice. Your DVD, which has all your utilities, everything. I usually start with this and then I go online and update all my drivers, which you can use the software to do as well. Little installation guide for how to do your CPU and everything when you get it. And that's it. So let's get on to the motherboard. Okay, so here's our first look. It's a micro motherboard. So there's a ITX, micro ATX, and ATX, and of course you can sometimes get extended ATX. This is a micro size motherboard. Okay, nice thing about it is you've got the normal 4 slots for your RAM, nice heat shield or heat sink. Some of the things that are important to me when it comes to stuff like this are, does it have Type C, which it does, which is right down here. Okay, so USB Type C. And does it have addressable RGB and RGB headers, which it does, and I will point those out to you as soon as I get to that point. First thing I want to show you is a lot of people will come here looking for these, and the pinout. So when you're taking all your cables from your case, now they're always a little bit different, but I like to show that right in the beginning so you can see if you're halfway through your build and you just want to see that part, you can see it. So here we go. There is how everything goes. Okay, so probably best to look at it that way, and you can see. So your power, so PLED, positive and negative, all right, goes here and here, so positive and negative. Then you're going to have your hard drive, your power switch up top, and down below you've got your reset switch. So we'll start with our CPU. So of course the CPU is designed, it's multi-purpose, so multi-core I should say. So it will accommodate any 3rd gen AMD Ryzen processor and feature AMD Ryzen processors, but you will need a BIOS update. Make no mistake about it, even the B550s and X570s are coming, and you need BIOS updates for those too. So moving on, of course it is a AM4 socket, so make sure that you're aware of that, and you're going to be using the AMD 550 chipset. For graphics, it has one graphics slot. Okay, so graphics slot here. So that is a PCIe 4.0 times 16 slot. So there's only one, but it's on a micro ATX board, so that's to be expected. Okay, so you have your 4 DIMMs. Okay, dual channel DDR4. They will go up to 4400 megahertz overclocked, of course. You have expansion slots, so you have 2 PCIe right here. Okay, so those 2 slots there are 2 PCIe 3.0 times 1 slot. Okay, so we're going to get on and let's show you the storage. So we have storage here for an M.2 Gen 4 times 4 slot. And then we have another one actually right here, which is I always find amazing on a micro ATX board that you've got a second slot. And that is a 1 times M.2 Gen 3 times 4 slot. All right. So, and of course, we'll get on to the other side of the board, show you some more of the features. Keep in mind this motherboard does have wireless and Bluetooth. Okay. Has wireless AC 3168 and Bluetooth 4.2, which of course you can always upgrade later on by software. Your audio, okay, so right here, you can see that line where it divides it to try and keep the noise down for you. So it has 8 channels, 7.1 HD audio with audio boost. So that goes over some of the main features of this motherboard. So let's go a little bit more in depth, show you some of the things you really want to know and you may need to know just to get you in the build process. And of course, the M.2s are shield frozer, so designed for better thermal and faster transfer speeds. And it's, of course, airflow optimized. So when you use PWM/DC fan and a pump fan ready, okay, so it's best with MSI cases and CPU coolers, they say, which of course they're going to say that because it's their product. It'll work with any case, trust me. So something else I also get questions on, and I always like to point out is almost most motherboards I've reviewed, as a matter of fact, they're not compatible with AMD Ryzen 5 3400G and the AMD Ryzen 3 3200G processors. I'm not sure why that is, but just to let you know, because it is important information, it helps you to know your compatibilities and stuff when you're looking at the motherboard, what you need to look for, so you don't buy the wrong CPU to go with the motherboard, and then they just don't work and you don't know why. So some important things to point out at first are, of course, so right here we have our pump/fan one. Okay, now you can't see it, so I'm going to move this a little bit for you. So right here, okay, see it says J Rainbow 1, and that's 3 pins. Okay, the reason being is J Rainbow 1 means it is a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header. So right there's our sideways. They position it differently. So it's J Rainbow 2. That's your 5-volt, 3-pin addressable RGB header. Okay, so let's move over a little bit further. And we have our CPU fan here. And we have an 8-pin for power over here. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so looking at the end of our motherboard here, we of course have our mic, or headphones rather, mic, and your other audio connector here. We have our gigabyte LAN, 2 USB 3.2, I believe, and 2 more here, your HDMI and USB 2.0. And of course the old style PS2 port, and it even comes with VGA, which you will probably never use. And you have a display port here and a BIOS flash button right there. So, and of course this is your Wi-Fi. You will put 2 antennas on there and you'll be good to go. So let's move on to the other side of the motherboard. Okay, so another thing that's kind of nice is you have your USB 3.0 on the side here, which I find that to be kind of handy. You have 4 SATA slots, and you have your USB Type-C right here. So it's called JUSB 1, and you have another system fan and your 24 pin for power. And you have another system fan here as well, and I believe another one right there. Okay, so we're looking at this. We've got our audios, or HD audios, usually what's going to go in here. It's called JAUD1. We have our JRGB1, which is basically just your RGB header. 4-pin, 12-volt. Make sure you line up the arrow the correct way. So that's an RGB header, and right beside it you have a second one. First we have a system fan here. Okay, so here we have, now this is sometimes confused with USB. Okay, so your USB is here and here. What makes this different is the pin layout. And I actually did a video once where I showed how I plugged in a USB to that, which it shouldn't even gone in, but I must have been off by a pin or something, and it actually went in, and I couldn't get my USB to work, and that was the reason why. So if you've got a USB port that's not working, maybe just have a quick check and see if you've got it plugged in to what is called the COM port. Very seldom used, but it is something that you can still use and take advantage of. The way you can tell is this pin is missing here and here for the USB, normal USB, and on this one, it's on the top. So it should not even go in. How I got it in there, I still to this day don't really know how, but I did. So you have JFP2, so jumper front panel 2 is what that stands for, and that is basically your speaker. So if you have a system that comes with a speaker, which this one did not, you can plug it in there, or you can buy one independently if you like to listen to the beep codes to figure out what's going on, all that kind of good stuff. You have JFP1. So that is where your front panel connectors are going to go. That's where your cables from your case are going to connect to. And that's why I showed you that little diagram in the beginning, so you know where they're at. So if you're one of these people that just don't like RGB on your motherboard, there's a little switch right here, you can turn that and turn it right off. And your second addressable RGB is right here called J Rainbow 1. As we showed you before, it had J Rainbow 2. So you had 2 RGB and you have 2 addressable RGB on this motherboard, which is always nice to have. You may only need one, you may only ever use one. But if you need a second one, it's there and you can take advantage of it. So one thing I like to point out on this motherboard, I'm going to move to here just 1 second. So a couple of things that happen. This happened to me recently, actually. I went to use the software from MSI, which I know everybody tells you you're not supposed to do, but up until now, it's always worked well for me. And I flashed the BIOS. Well, it didn't work. Thought I bricked my motherboard. Turns out, something that if that happens to you, take your CMOS battery out. Okay, take it out of the system, pop it out, leave it out for a good 2 to 3 minutes. Make sure you wait the full 3 minutes, at least a couple minutes. Okay, so make sure you wait that length of time. Pop that back in. Make sure you also disconnect your power. Make sure it's completely powered down. Hold down your power switch if it's already in a case. Make sure your system is completely powered down. Wait 3 minutes. Plug it back in. Put your CMOS battery back in, because that's what this is. Okay, this will wipe your CMOS. Hopefully, if everything goes well, you're back up and running and you have not bricked your motherboard. It's just one of those things that just works or it doesn't. If you get lucky, it'll work like I did. Otherwise, you're going to go have to buy another motherboard. So just little tidbits like that I like to point out. So on the motherboard, you also have these 2 brackets, one here and here. A lot of times, with stock coolers, sometimes you'll use it. But if you don't need them, a lot of times you'll wind up taking these brackets off. Simply has 2 screws on both sides. Take those off, it'll come off. And people refer to the backplate. I'm just going to show you what that is. So we'll have a look at the back of the motherboard. So when you look at the back of the motherboard, that's where these screws are going. So there's one bracket here, and another bracket probably going this way. Okay, so they're going to unscrew and unscrew. Those will come off, and then this whole piece will pop off. And you'll use the backplate for your install of the other CPU cooler, or you may not use it at all. And the CPU cooler you're using could be water cooled or whatever, or you just have an air cooled, and it just won't require that. So I like to point that out. Really good soldering job, of course. I would expect nothing less, to be honest. You don't have a whole lot of screws for standoffs. Okay, so that's pretty much all there is. That pretty much takes everything into account. I don't think I've missed anything. If there is, if you have questions, let me know. I like having the M.2 here and having the second option there for a second one. If you use that option, especially when you're using a small form factor, it just means a lot less cables. In fact, if you use 2 M.2 drives and, I don't know, maybe a 4 terabyte or 2 terabytes even, that might be all the storage you require, depending on what your task is and what you want to do. All right, everybody, so that was pretty brief. I know I just kind of went over the finer points of what you need on a motherboard as far as I'm concerned. I like to have addressable RGB, the USB Type-C connection on the motherboard, so you don't have to go and buy an adapter card or anything like that. You don't have to go buy a fan or RGB hub because you don't have the connectors for the RGB on your motherboard. A lot of people overlook the addressable RGB, and it's used a lot for most aftermarket CPU coolers. So keep that in mind. If there's any questions, let me know. If you like the video, hit that like, helps me out a lot. If you don't, you know what to do. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or there's anything I left out and you want to find out about. I will certainly get back to you. And if you're new here, think about subscribing and hit that bell for future notifications to see videos as they come up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.